Happy Halloween! I am really excited to share the scenes that I painted for today's video. The following movies are my absolute favorite Halloween movies that I watch every single year, along with many others, but these ones are movies that I will literally watch on repeat throughout the month of October. The very first one is a scene from The Corpse Bride. I really adore this movie. I think it is so goofy, but also has some very serious themes and undertones, and I think it's a really fun movie. I love the story and animation style. I love Tim Burton's films. Always a fun one to watch. The painting process was definitely interesting. I haven't used gouache for quite some time, so I'm feeling very rusty with it. It was difficult to control. I think that there is a lot of muscle memory in painting, but there's also a lot of stuff that comes from using the medium consistently, and I was struggling a lot with my consistency of paint, my water to paint ratio as I was painting, and it was just a little tricky. It looks like I freehanded the sketch, which I did a little bit but didn't entirely do. It's kind of hard to see in the footage, but I did plot out the general scene that I was painting, and then I did a more detailed sketch with the paint. That's an approach that has worked for me in the past, so I thought coming back into this challenge, doing it that way was just going to be more comfortable. I put in all of the background elements. I wish that I had done this a little bit better, because in the screenshot it is like a more blurred together background scene, and I wish I had thought of that before I started painting and did like a wet and wet method to get the fuzziness of the background. But I just didn't think about that. I was really psyching myself out when it came to just sitting down to paint. So I didn't want to spend too much time thinking about the process that I was going to take, so that I could just jump in and start working on it. After the background had been established, then I moved on to the characters' faces. For the most part, I am just blobbing in the different values that I'm seeing in the reference photo. It is a very black and white scene. I did add burnt sienna and a like lemon yellow colored paint to adjust the hues of the scene, but I think I didn't really pay enough attention to that. It's a lot warmer in the reference photo. So once I had all of the basic color values blocked in on the face, I don't know if this is like a proper technique, but it's something that I've done over my time during this challenge. And if I lay down the paint thick enough, then I will go in with my brush when it's been rinsed and dried off, so it's just a damp brush, and I just like mix around the colors to get rid of some of the hard edges. I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to do in gouache. I've heard a lot of people say that you can't blend gouache, but that's how I blend my gouache. That's what I did for the rest of the characters' faces to try to get it to look more smooth. After I finished up the faces, I moved on to the hair. I tried to keep it pretty simple. I did want to put in more details, but I also just wanted to focus on getting in the values and trying to avoid to overdo it. I think that I still overdid it with the highlights, but that's okay. I tried not to touch them too much. I was gonna blend them in, and then it was just making it worse, so I just stopped and I just left it how it was. What was left at the end was to paint the flowers that I covered up in the very beginning when I was painting the background. I like how between his hand and the shape of the flowers, they're kind of making a heart-ish shape. That was pretty much it for the Corpse Bride scene. After that, I went on to The Nightmare Before Christmas. And picking a scene for this movie is so tricky because I didn't want to go with one of the more popular scenes that people like to paint. I wanted to pick a different type of scene. And I don't know what it was about this one, but it just jumped out to me. It's when they are on their way to kidnap Santa Claus and they get to his door. I really liked painting this scene. I had a lot of fun painting the background. That's where I started with this scene. For the sketches, I basically just put in like the basic shapes of everything just so I would get a good idea of where things were. So when I went into this painting, I just started with the furthest back point and worked up my way forward. I wish I had a clearer sketch for the bathtub in the background because I didn't put much effort into that sketch. It was really like a blob shape, and I think it would have benefited from a little bit more structure in the sketch. Painting the snow was very interesting because I wanted to really focus on capturing the lighting of the scene, and it's such a telling surface. I didn't get as much of the detail as I wanted, but I think that I got in the values pretty well. So I was really happy with how the transition came with that. My favorite part to paint was probably the candy canes. I really enjoyed the challenge of trying to gain enough contrast with the white areas of the candy cane on the already pretty light tones of the snow background. And that was really interesting to work on. I thought it was a lot of fun. And also the red stripes, they were a little bit tricky to do, but they ended up being really easy as long as I didn't mess with them too much or try to make them too perfect. And then at the very end, I painted in our characters, which are definitely the most colorful parts of the page. And I had a lot of fun with the witch hat and with the guy in the middle. Then I saved the treat bag for the very end, and I really loved how that turned out. I was really worried that starting with black, I wasn't going to get enough contrast between the inside of the bag and the outside of the bag, but I think it worked out pretty well. And I think that they were pumpkins on the bag, but I wasn't going to individually paint each one. And then our final scene was the Coraline scene that I picked out. I wanted to challenge myself with this one because I felt like I played it a little safe with my other two choices. They were more character focused, which is what I typically do for this challenge. And I went with a landscape scene of the Pink Palace. Looking back at it, I forgot to put in the cat at the end. It's supposed to be the scene from the very end of the movie when like the cat is sitting above the sign. I don't have much to say about this scene other than I think I ran out of time. I ran out of time working on it, so I didn't get it as refined as I wanted to. I struggled a lot with every single step in the painting process. I just need to really work on backgrounds, to be honest. I don't know how to paint trees and mountains and get the textures that are needed. I do really like the foreground hill area with like a little dirt patch and the flowers in it. I think that that ended up being the best area that I pulled together at the end. Everything else was very simple. I didn't really know how to keep it simple and then also get in the level of detail that was needed for everything to read clearly. I repainted a lot of areas over and over again, especially in the distant background, because they ended up not being the color that I really wanted them to be. I think that for this scene, my lack of practice with gouache was really showing. I was really struggling to mix the right colors. I was really struggling with figuring out how to paint every single part of this process just because I don't really do landscapes or paint houses or anything like that. So it was just an overall overwhelming process that was really difficult to get through. The background was just way too saturated. The house ended up being way too bright. The mid-ground of the land was really not the right hue. It was supposed to have more yellow undertones, and I realized at the very end that I probably should have mixed in a lot of yellow ochre into each of my mixes to be able to get the hue needed to capture the scene. And then with the sign, that was the very last thing that I was able to paint, and the colors and values just were not turning out the way that I thought they would as they would dry. There were just a lot of errors on my part for this painting, and then, like I said before, I just really ran out of time painting this. By the time I finished up this scene, I had been painting for 12 consecutive hours, so I was just not going to spend too much time refining the remaining details. I love Coraline. I think it's my absolute favorite Halloween movie. I watch it every single year, and it's not on one of the streaming services that I have regularly. I think that they only have it seasonally on like the Roku channel or something, and that's the way that I watch it. And I would watch it more throughout the year if I could. So during the month of October, I watch it so much. Like, my boyfriend gets so tired of me putting on Coraline just because I just try to watch it as many times as I can. I would rather get sick of it now than be missing it throughout the next year, if that makes any sense. Overall, I am feeling really good about this spread of scene studies. I didn't spend any time being critical with myself like I usually do, and I think a lot of that was me trying to remind myself that I have been really rusty with gouache. I've been really rusty with painting in general. I feel like I've really let my painting practice go despite identifying myself as a painter, so that's something I'm trying to work on a little bit more. My biggest focus for this month has been trying to figure out my process when it comes to creating videos and creating art again. I've been trying to ease myself back into creating art consistently. If you've watched my videos for any length of time, you know that consistency is just not my forte. It's something that I consistently struggle with. That's the only thing consistent about me, is that I'm inconsistent, and I'm really working hard on trying to get better at that. It's a discipline that I've just found to be near impossible to cultivate, and I'm just not very good at sticking to a singular plan. But I'm gonna fix that, and I'm going to show up for you guys more consistently, making more videos and showing up for myself more in my sketchbook, spending more time practicing my skills and making sure that I'm actually spending time painting, because I really enjoy painting, and for some reason I don't let myself paint very often. While I've been gone, I have been rewatching a lot of my old videos, and there's one in particular that sticks out to me in my previous videos that just really underperformed, but the way that I edited that video I thought was just so good, and I feel like I gotta create more videos like that. It didn't perform well, but I think that's my fault for how lazy I was with the thumbnail and the packaging of the overall video, but I thought it was definitely one of my better videos that I've made. I really wanted to be able to participate in Peachtober this month, but it didn't happen. I did this last year where as soon as the list came out for the prompts, I jumped the gun and I made these really extravagant plans for what I was gonna do for Peachtober, and I just haven't given myself the opportunity to create a plan that was doable. And then with these super extravagant plans, I just really psyched myself out get really worried that I'm just not going to be able to create at the level that I want it to be at, which is really silly because if I'm not making art, then I'm not improving at all. And if I'm not doing the projects that I want to create, I'm not going to develop the skills that I need to create those projects better in the future. So I just decided not to partake in Peachtober. I decided pretty early in the month, even though I could have tried to catch up. I just decided it wasn't the best thing for me to focus on at the moment. I've been spending a lot of time reflecting and working on building up a little bit of consistency again. That's what I've done for the last few weeks. Every step of making videos and making art again feels bizarre. So I'm very excited to get to a point of clarity again and regain some confidence in my creative practice. And I think that making strides in this 100 Scene Studies challenge that I've had going on for so long now is going to really help with that. It's a challenge that I have continuously avoided. It's been such a challenge for me to work on. Now with these 3 scenes completed, I think I've just now completed a total of 29 scenes. And if you paid close attention to the video, you know that math isn't checking out, because the very first scene in this video was scene number 40, and that's because I've started a lot of scene studies in the past that I just didn't didn't finish or come back to despite planning them out. So I have plans to go back and finish all of those throughout the rest of the year and then do a few more. Hopefully you guys will see more of these kinds of videos. They are a lot of work to make, but the overall process is very enjoyable, and you guys seem to like the videos in this series a lot. So I just really want to spend the time to get back into the flow of things. And thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.